What's up, folks? Happy Thanksgiving. Nintenjoel here with a video that I've never actually seen anybody do, but you know, it's not like I went searching for Thanksgiving retro video game videos, but I am doing a Thanksgiving video because there are a lot of games that I am actually quite thankful for, and I just wanted to talk about those for a little bit and maybe touch base with you guys and let you know what's going on in my head when it comes to retro video games and maybe why I like retro video games so much. But basically, I'm just going to talk about, it came out to be 10 games, so nice round number. I'm just going to talk about 10 games that kind of mean a lot to me and kind of why they mean a lot to me. I know I've mentioned some of them on other videos, and I'm sure plenty of people will mention these games. They're all classics. There's nothing really here that's like a hidden gem or anything that you've like never heard of. Maybe a couple, but for the most part, these are quite well-known games, but games that I feel are very important. So starting these off, and I'm going to do these in kind of chronological order, not only of when they were released, but pretty much when I played them as well. So the first one would be the first Final Fantasy for Nintendo, and I am very thankful for this game, because this game, along with Ultima Exodus and Dragon Warrior, the first one, all got me into RPG gaming. And I mean, Final Fantasy was pretty much the one that really led the pack, in my opinion. The first Final Fantasy is just so good. I mean, the music is fantastic. You get to kind of customize your party members, and there's a lot of areas to explore. And when you compare it to games like Ultima Exodus or Dragon Warrior, there's quite a bit of difference. I mean, the Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior are kind of similar, but the thing is Final Fantasy is so much more involved. The story is much more involved, and the gameplay is much more involved, and as I said, you can customize your characters kind of in the beginning, and they actually kind of grow. So Final Fantasy has to be, for the Nintendo era, one of the most important games to me, and one of the reasons why is because when I was growing up, I didn't really have a lot of friends. Like, I was never one of those people that had a best friend, and I sure did hang out with plenty of people, and I played games at other people's houses and such, but I never really had, like, really close friends. I'm not really sure why that was, but you know, later on in life I did at certain points, but during my life I've come to that point quite a few times where I just don't have a lot of friends that I consider really close. And you know, playing video games sometimes helps you just kind of go into yourself and just really learn something other than the outside world and really kind of take it all in. And because you don't have so many outside influences, it kind of helps you integrate into a game a little better, if that makes any sense at all. And with the second game I have to talk about, that is definitely true. That's Dragon Warrior 4. This game is so immersive and so good. And again, during my Nintendo days, like I said, I had friends. I don't want to sound like I was a complete loner or anything, but for the most part, my gaming I only did at like a couple friends' houses once in a while, and then mainly at home. Once I got my Nintendo, Final Fantasy and Dragon Warrior 4 were the two games for the Nintendo that took up the most amount of my time. I've beaten Final Fantasy multiple times, and Dragon Warrior, or no, actually, God, I take that back. Final Fantasy is the bastard that I have not beaten because of that damn last boss. Anyways, that's a whole different story, but I have beaten it on Dawn of Souls. And then Dragon Warrior 4 I've beaten recently, but I spent a ton of time on these games, just playing them over and over, even if I didn't beat them. And man, they just filled a void where you don't have anybody to hang out with, you don't have anything to do. This filled a void, and I'm very thankful for these two games because of that. I talk about Dragon Warrior 4 all the time, so I'm not going to say anything else about that except for it's a very involved game. 5 chapters, at least 8 characters. There's also non-playable characters as well, and just a really great RPG. Now, going into the Super Nintendo days, which is my favorite system, of course, Super Metroid is one of those games where you feel lonely. This is one of those games that's really unique, that you are by yourself in this huge expanse, and it's one of the few games where you feel really alone. The captivating music, the eeriness, and just the story behind it, and you are pretty much alone. You are one chick on a planet, and you've got your upgrades to your weapons, and that's it. I mean, you've got pretty much nothing. The later Metroid games, you at least had little communications towers and shit to talk to. Super Metroid, you were freaking alone. And it's such a good game to immerse yourself in. And there have been several times in my life where I've popped Super Metroid in for just hours and hours, days and days, because I had nothing better to do. So, very thankful for Super Metroid. Now, Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. Quite thankful for this game. This game is one of those games that it's hard to describe how you feel about it until you actually play it. I remember seeing the magazines for when it was coming out and being so excited. It was one of the few times in my life where I was reading gaming magazines and seeing the preview images and all the hype that was coming, and it was so deserving of that hype. It was incredible. When I got Legend of Zelda Link to the Past, my own copy, I spent a long time playing this game, and I mean, it just occupied so much of my time. There's so much to do. I mean, getting all the heart containers, getting all the items, talking to every single villager, exploring every single corner of the map. It takes a long time. And much like Super Metroid, you can go through these games fairly quickly if you know what to do. But if you don't know what to do, these games can last a really long time. And when I was a teenager, I didn't really have any real intentions of beating Link to the Past. I was just going through it and exploring just a ton. It was just an amazing world to me. So yeah, definitely thankful for that one. And yes, I have beaten that one as well. Okay, so one of the creams of the crop, and just because I'm doing this in chronological order, I am putting one of the most important games right in the middle. I'd like to talk about this game for just a little bit. This is Final Fantasy III, North American Final Fantasy III. In Japan, this is Final Fantasy VI, of course. But of course, my cart says 3, so whatever. People that want to argue, whatever. Final Fantasy III. Wow. Okay, so when I lived on the Oregon coast for a brief point in time, I had a friend that had pretty much like the best games. He always had the best stereo. His room was the best. Like everything he had was freaking awesome. And a lot of the times he would just be showing me shit. I wouldn't really necessarily be playing the video games or bringing CDs over. He'd be showing me metal, and he'd be showing me video games, and I'd be totally fine with that. He was one of the first PC gamers I actually knew. He showed me like the Legend of Kyrandia series, which I really love and nobody ever talks about. But that's a totally different story. Final Fantasy III is one of those games that he got as soon as it came out. And I went to his house one day and was just like, what is this? Is this a new Final Fantasy? I was already familiar with 2, and for some reason I wasn't into games back then. I was probably around 16, I think, at this time. Maybe 15. And at this time I wasn't really as into games. I still had a bunch of my games, and I still played those, but there were a lot of times in my life where I just didn't buy new games, so I didn't even know about Final Fantasy III coming out. All I knew about it is I went to my friend's house and saw what he was doing, and he was already really far in the game. He was like at the Dark World, and I had no idea how he got there. He was at Kefka's Tower, if I remember correctly, and I was just like, what is this? This is amazing, and the graphics and the music, the battle music is just amazing. I know I'm spending way too much time talking about this one game. Final Fantasy III is definitely the game out of these 10 games that I'd have to say I'm probably the most thankful for. Maybe Dragon Warrior 4. But Final Fantasy III is just, it's incredible. I cannot recommend it enough. Everybody should play this game. It is just so worth it. The story, the music, the graphics, everything. Just play that game and be thankful for it as well. Okay, so moving on. This one I don't really have much to say about. It's another Legend of Zelda title. Legend of Zelda Minish Cap, with the most ridiculously beat up box that I have. But still, this game, holy shit. Man, that game took me for a roller coaster. It's not a very long game, but it's kind of hard. The later periods in this game are just maddeningly hard. They're so hard to avoid enemies, and they're pretty stingy with life in this game. And if I remember correctly, they're pretty stingy with rupees in this game. But the fact that you can shrink down into a tiny little world and have almost a whole second world to explore, everywhere you go it seems like there's like a tiny little world. amongst your regular Zelda world, and there's like tiny little dudes that you can talk to, and your hat talks to you, and the items are cool, and the music was amazing, and it was challenging. This game occupied a good chunk of my time, again later on when I was an adult, and I had moved away for a little while from the area and then came back and just really didn't have anybody to hang out with. This game occupied hours of my time, and I highly suggest you play it. Very, very good. The next one, many people know, and I have probably talked about, I'm sure, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. This is literally one of my favorite games of all time. Top 3, no joke. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is, in my opinion, the best Castlevania game that's ever come out. It's probably the best game that's ever gonna come out. It's the one that started the whole Metroidvania thing, where you can backtrack and get items, and those items are going to help you get to another area. The music is grand. It is epic. It's worthy of Bach would love it. Mozart would love it. I mean, it's just incredible. So well orchestrated, and everything about the game is just genius. It's so well laid out, and much like Final Fantasy III, kind of 2 worlds to explore. So pretty cool. Final Fantasy VII. I'm not going to say a lot about this game because I think I'm going to do a review on this game. And yes, I know everybody's done a review on Final Fantasy VII, but this game is quite special. Quite special. And it needs to be talked about further. It's so incredible. This was actually the first PlayStation game I ever saw played, and this was at another friend's house. This is one of the few times I did have a lot of friends and was hanging out, and they were showing me games, and it was when the PlayStation first came out. This game blew me away. I had no idea what was in store for me when I would get my own copy and play it for myself. And when they showed me this, sure, I had friends, but when I actually got my copy, I had moved away and had no friends. And I remember specifically sitting in the dark playing Final Fantasy VII with the volume muted and listening to Neurosis. Holy shit. What a crazy, awesome time that was. It is still one of my fondest memories, living in Corvallis, playing that for the first time. So badass. Moving on, Final Fantasy IX. There are so many Final Fantasy games on this list. Such a great franchise. I am going to do a review on this, and I've talked about that one. Zidane, Steiner, Amaranth, all such crazy good characters. Fucking animated like nobody's business. One of the best styles of gameplay ever. The fact that you get your abilities and magic through items and weapons and armor is just beyond amazing. I'm going to talk about that game more, so I'm just going to leave that at that. Last game I have for you guys. Moving on, Persona 3. I am very thankful for this game. Crazy thankful for this game because it got me into the Shin Megami Tensei series. Thank you very much, Tanner. He worked at a game store that is local, and he got me into Persona 3. He explained it very thoroughly and said, you're going to have a little bit of a hard time. It takes a while to get into the game, but it's totally worth it. I agree. Persona 3 is where you should start, Shin Megami Tensei-wise, or Nocturne. But yeah, great game. I'm also going to do a review on this at some point, hopefully, but that's all I got for you guys. I just wanted to do a quick video and tell you guys I'm very thankful for some of these games. They've actually enriched and helped my life very much, and that's all I have for you guys. If you guys like the video, please give a thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, please hit that subscribe button below, and leave a comment. What games are you guys thankful for, and are any of them these games? That's all I have for you guys. Keep rocking the retro games.